Hi, you guys. All right. So I'm gonna go back to the Lantern Man Petra Short Act. This is like when you are on Facebook and somebody is like going underneath all of your posts saying lamp, 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 and then you find out that person is an army official. Chris Davis did this to me. So I'm sure I'm in some kind of thing like this, but look at how it's worded. Look at how it's worded. First, it talks about it's trying to protect the rights of people being held. But then, when you look at Karen Tucker, she's got a psychiatric technological license, but she poses as a teacher or a writer, but really she works for the VA, taking away women's rights because she is psychopath. A psychopath. Hang on a second. Okay, so again, California law allows police officers and certain mental health professionals, i.e. a Karen Tucker, who abuse you, abandon you, treat you like shit, invite you to parties where everybody at the party is told to shun you, and they are part of Scientology or LDS. But I was thinking about like going to Catholic church. I'm not a Catholic, I'm a Christian, but Catholicism also talks about, or many of the evangelical speeches I've heard say, can I get a witness? What if the witness is a Jehovah's Witness? Because they have very strict laws on how you get shunned from the community. Drinking coffee, I don't know what else. Lots of them. Under this law, if you meet certain criteria, this is too vague. You can be held. Now this has to do with entrapment. I'm going to show you entrapment. Entrapment is sting operations, blue moon investigations. There's a bunch of secret organizations that do entrapment where they are hired to pretend that you are an immigrant without papers because they've attached your name to an immigrant without papers, born in Korea or Denmark. And when they split up your name into 16 names, that is kind of a hard thing to find, but you can find it all on Ancestry.com. Just look up your own name and look up your dog's name. And they're loose with dates because that one document I showed you, they changed dates at will to change your status. And then when you try to get your status from the immigration courts, they will not give it to you because they don't know the name they're using. They're using hundreds of names. Criteria for a hold. A police officer or mental health professional cannot hold you just for having a mental illness. You can only be detained if an officer believes that your mental illness will likely cause some kind of harm. So they do this through arrest, through search and seizure, because your bones, eggs, body parts are worth billions of dollars. Literally billions. So they take an arrest on your property. They've been doing this in Texas for years. And under environmental law, shorten your jaw so much. If you guys see how short my jaw is, it's very hard to breathe, very hard to move my mouth, and it totally disables your face. So they are like, and then you go and you have to say what health care they've withheld. But when you have Kaiser also faking deaths with your parents and with the people who work for the state, it's a very, very complex form of torture and terrorist acts against a citizen or somebody under their jurisdiction. The officer or person treating you may take your mental health history into account Okay, if you're raped as a child, you're going to have mental health history. If you've gone to the police and said, I've been raped, or they keep breaking into my building, or they keep vandalizing my car and the police do nothing, you're going to have a mental health issue, I think. But you can't be a victim. You can't let this make you a victim. You have to figure out what is the most important thing, your money or your children. My most important thing is the fact that they're stealing eggs from women. They're shortening their jaws, they're disfiguring their faces, they're hurting their spines. Yeah, the woman might be paralyzed. But they are letting another person raise your child as a slave. That is the most important thing that they do. You cannot be held based solely on your history. To be subject to a psychiatric hold, you must meet at least one of the following criteria. Danger to self, danger to others. That's why it's important when you see that the police, when I called, my friend Kenneth Rains had threatened to kill himself, they put me through Dee Dee Hirsch, and then Dee Dee Hirsch called the police and said I wanted to kill myself. And then when the police came here with guns drawn at my door, I said, I didn't say that. I said that the person we weren't dating, but he was a friend, said he wanted to kill himself and was banging his head until he bled on his own heater. He was self-harming. So they arrested me on my property in front of all of my neighbors because they were trying to kick down the front door to get in. So on the call, it said dead animal pickup, and that somebody had threatened to kill themselves, which wasn't true. It was a made-up lie. Danger to others, actual attempts to harm others is the most common way. Grave disability. Now, this one is how they're doing it. Because if somebody files a bunch of fraudulent documents, aggravated identity theft against you to steal your ovaries and your eggs and your right to work, yeah, you're gravely disabled because you're not getting your own money. You're not getting your own earnings. They're stealing all of it. They're supposed to provide your basic needs, pay all of your bills. I mean, my bills are thousands of dollars. They don't pay my bills. I have to say I'm in a conservatorship with the county. Go retrieve the money from them because they're not paying my bills because they're hiding what names they're using. You know what I mean? So, but I'm not the only one. Look at the homeless problem. I'm not the only one they've done it to. There's many people that don't have the right to work in America because of hate crimes that our own county is organizing. Okay. Yeah, or if they've become unable to maintain housing. Okay, if they're stealing all of your money, that will make it hard for you to pay your rent. Because the conservator law means they're supposed to pay your rent, but they're not. They're trying to strip you of everything as a hate crime. You have to hear me. They hate women, they hate white women, and they hate children, and they hate Christians, period. Because all we are to them is chattel. All right. And if it has to do with your nationality and you actually did come from England, that's also discrimination based on your nationality, because they brought you in without ever, and even if you're here from 1972 on, that's why they changed the date of your birth. 1974, 1972. They just change it all the time. 1980, because if you were here before 1972, you become a naturalized citizen. But they don't want you to know this, and they don't want you to know you don't have a green card. Someone incapable of caring for herself, but who could likely survive safely with the help of a willing third party, would not be gravely disabled. So they disable you by shunning from Alcoholics Anonymous parties, from members of the LDS Church, and other churches like Scientology, by accusing you of crimes you wouldn't normally commit. These aren't crimes you would normally commit. These are crimes that they're trying to entrap you for, using your friends and family because of a hate crime against you. Someone incapable, okay. Imposition of a conservatorship should be made in situations where it's truly necessary. It is not truly necessary to take away someone's rights unless they want your eggs. That's the only time that they can take away your rights, is if they want your eggs, because they call you an egg-laying hen. They call you a horse in the confusion horde, owned by BLM. They call you these things as a hate crime against your personhood. To accomplish this purpose, evidence of the availability of third-party assistance must be considered. So if you're shunned by your own community because they raped you, this is not going to allow a third party, right? So while the state may arguably confine a person to save him from harm, incarceration is rarely, if ever, a necessary condition from raising the living standards of those capable of surviving safely in freedom on their own or with the help of their family and friends. But they confine you. Trust me, being homeless by itself would not meet the gravely disabled. However, someone who cannot or will not find food or shelter as a direct result would be considered gravely disabled. The term gravely disabled also includes fraud on you. So they rape you, they file documents against you through that LAUSD situation where they change your name at will, pretend you're married, pretend you're dead, and sign your name on thousands of documents claiming that you're giving Cynthia Ruff the legal right to rape and torture you, to do what she can to convey your property, which is your ovaries and eggs. Okay? Yeah, you have other disabilities. Yes, you do. But these conservatorships and these laws on power of attorney, they deprive you of medical care. That's why Dr. Saito stepping in to say this person is unable to make their own medical decisions is because they put you in clinical trials that Merck and Johnson & Johnson and all of these people are profiting from. Meanwhile, your babies are being raised as slaves. Your babies, those are your babies. In California, there's no maternal rights. There's only paternity rights. See conservatorship of chambers. That's why we see people like Britney Spears having their children taken away. Is sufficiently precise to exclude unusual or nonconformist lifestyles. It connotes an inability or refusal on the part of the proposed conservatee to care for personal basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Okay, well, you saw my mom's letter where she's saying that she's depriving me of the right to work so that I would have to live on the charity of others. So that would kind of fit this. I mean, I can't believe anyone would do this to a child. It's a hate crime, you guys. Though past acts may be considered, someone is not gravely disabled unless they're a present danger. See conservator of Benevento. The likelihood of future harm may also not be enough. If LPS conservatorship may be reestablished because of a perceived likelihood of future relapse, many conservatees who would not relapse would be deprived of liberty. The cost is unwarranted in view of statutory procedures. A similar law allows police or designated others to take you into custody if they think you meet the above criteria for chronic alcoholism. There it is. That's why anyone who has an alcohol problem should never go to AA. Because you're basically saying, oh, I've had problems with alcohol. I mean, any child that's getting raped and tortured and beaten might turn to alcohol to keep themselves alive. And that wouldn't necessarily mean they're an alcoholic, but alcoholism and Alcoholics Anonymous tries to convince you that you are. So this right here. And then the person taking you into custody must take reasonable precautions to safeguard your property. They must allow you to gather personal things. Notice and evaluation. You must be given a written notice of the petition explaining why you're being held. None of the children who are being held in conservatorships, no, they're not being given, they're saying, oh, we told them, we gave them notice. They never get notified because the county profits on human slavery of women and children, and they want their eggs. for people who posed as your friends who are actually OBGYN nurse